Hello there folks, thanks for joining me on another video about Scotland and its history. Today I'm going to be coming to you from the historically important site that is Cambuskenneth Abbey, which lies just on the outskirts of Stirling. The abbey itself was founded in the year 1140 AD, although most of the buildings, including what you see behind me, the magnificent bell tower, were actually constructed in the 1200s. Now sadly, the only remaining fully intact part of the structure is actually the bell tower itself, which was always a separate part of the building. It was always freestanding. The rest of the structure on the site were demolished in the 1560s for religious reasons, but we'll get into that a wee bit later on. Before I go in and take you for a wee tour around, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everybody that is currently subscribed to the channel. At the point of filming, I'm over 150 subscribers, which is beating all my expectations for such a short period of time. If you're enjoying the content and you like the videos and you're not currently subscribed, please consider doing so. It's free, a charge, doesn't cost you anything, and also hit the like button and add comments. It all goes to help getting the videos noticed, and this is what it's all about, getting Scotland's history out there and stop it from getting swept under the carpet like it has been for so long. So if you're currently subscribed, I appreciate it. You know who you all are, thank you. And if you're not currently subscribed but you're liking the content, again, please consider doing so. So cheers. Now, if you're going to be visiting the site, which I fully recommend because I don't think it gets visited enough, just be aware that it's only open for certain months of the year, and there's a wee notice just at the edge of the gate. It's open from April to September, and that is from 9:30 in the morning to 5:30. Last entry 1700. It's, as per the sign, admission free, so free of charge to enter. There's a wee notice board to the right hand side, which shows you what an artist's impression of what the abbey would have looked like in the 1400s. You get your bell tower there, the main abbey, and that's your west doorway, which is that over there. Now, the fact that that survived is absolutely brilliant. We'll have a wee closer look in a wee while, but there's some stunning medieval carvings round about it. But sadly, all of this is no longer here, but you can still see the foundations and the layout. It's all been marked out for us, and there's a wee bit down the back here. Now, this is the River Forth, which is just over there behind those trees, and they reckon there'd have been a dock, a pier system there. This is all tidal, so you get access to the sea. Now, the abbey would have made money through trade, and it is known that they traded in salt and also salmon, so that stuff could have left from that port that was illustrated down there. There's a few buildings in that down the back which you can see here. There's the remains of some of them, you can still see the outline, and there's part of one of the buildings is still fairly intact. There's at least 2 walls off it left, but we'll go down and have a wee look. But yeah, so through this gate here, always just remember to keep the gate closed behind you. It keeps everything nice and safe. Now, once inside the actual gated area, you can get a better look. The Great West doorway, which will come in a wee while. We'll have a closer look at that, but we'll go down here and we'll discuss the history, which there's a lot of. There's a lot of royal connections. It's actually a burial site of one of Scotland's kings. We'll have a wee look at that. It's also potentially a burial site of one of Scotland's most famous sons, who I'll tell you a wee bit later on, and we'll have a wee look at that as well. But we'll have a wee walk down through here. Now, you see here, this has been the side of the actual abbey itself. These bits that jut out have been similar support structures like what you see on the 12th century bell tower, and that is absolutely stunning. Here's the doorway into it. We'll have a wee check, but I doubt it. But I do believe you can get access. It's here, all the way down here. This is the left hand side in the north facing wall. Another wall being there, I don't know what that's been, but now each of the areas are all marked out as what they were. And that over there is the burial site of one of Scotland's kings and also his queen. Now, as promised, we'll take a look at the Great West Doorway, which the arch still remains, and the steps leading into the abbey. Stunning medieval stonework. Fluted carvings all the way round. Looks as if there's been columns here, 3 at least, raising up and terminating up here, and the same on that side. And these stairs here, you think of the great men in history that walked through this door. Now, like I said, Cambuskenneth Abbey is a historically important site, and it's seen many historical figures, many great men step through its doors. I'll list some of them just now. Now, the first one I'm going to mention, I wouldn't class him as a great man, but he's certainly a notable character, and that was Edward I. Now, Edward I came here in 1303, and he actually prayed in the abbey and received a oath of allegiance from the Bishop of Glasgow, Robert Wishart. But like I said, wouldn't class him as a great man, but he's certainly a notable character. One of the greatest, if not the greatest men to have stepped through this archway here was none other than Robert the Bruce himself. And it looks as if he came through this doorway many times. In 1308, the Scottish nobles, notably Neil Campbell and Gilbert de la Haye, along with many other prominent Scottish nobles, swore allegiance to Robert the Bruce here. And that was in 1308, just 5 years after the enemy's king, Edward I, prayed here. Then in 1314, after the Great Battle of Bannockburn, where Robert the Bruce and his loyal nobles and men defeated probably the greatest English army that ever came to Scotland. And that wasn't too far away from here on the field of Bannockburn. Shortly after it, in the same year, King Robert held a parliament here. And the main subject of that parliament was dividing up the spoils of war. The spoils of the battle were shared out on these grounds between the loyal nobles who fought for Scotland and its freedom, and also the nobles who had betrayed Scotland, the traitors. They were stripped of their lands and their titles, and that was the product of that parliament. Then a few years later, 12 to be precise, in 1326, another parliament was held here, and this is probably one of the most important ones in Scottish history. Well, at least in my opinion anyway. Robert the Bruce held a parliament here where he got the clergy and the nobles to swear allegiance again to himself, but also to his son. And this is what secured the line of succession from Robert the Bruce onto his son, and set Scotland on its path. So a few notable events in the short period of its existence between 1140 and 1326. But there is also a Scottish king buried here, along with his queen, as I think I mentioned earlier on. We'll go and have a wee look at that in a wee minute. Just the other side of these railings. Now that is the tomb of King James III of Scotland and his queen, Margaret of Denmark, or the Princess Margaret of Denmark. Now, the king was killed in battle not too far away from here, at the Battle of Sockieburn. There's a lot of conspiracies surrounding it, but that'll be a topic for another video. But stunning. Now that there, if you've watched my video on St Bride's Kirk in Douglas, you'll recognise that as a medieval coffin, or certainly the bottom half. Don't know who it belongs to, need to do a wee bit of research, but it lies next to the King's tomb. There's a thing here on this side, don't know if you can read it on this, but it's basically telling you that Queen Victoria in 1865 had this renovated and restored. So the English monarchs, they're They're not always bad. She certainly showed a wee bit of respect to one of the kings of the past, which during the Protestant Reformation in the 1500s, when they destroyed this abbey, they showed no such respect. But it's good to see that it was restored. Still looking good after all this time. Now just over here there's a wee stone in the ground. Now just on the top of that hill there, that's the Abbey Craigs, and the Wallace monuments that's sitting on top of them. That's where William Wallace based his army before the Battle of Stirling Bridge. And this is said to be the burial site of William Wallace. Now obviously it's not his full body, as you'll be aware that the gruesome fate that he suffered at the hands of the English when he'd been hanged, drawn and quartered. His head was cut off and put on a pike down in London, and the other four sections of his body were put on display on various parts, some in England, some in Scotland. Now one of them was put on display on Stirling Bridge. That was the scene of his greatest victory. It obviously bothered the English, so they put one of his limbs there. Now it's said that the monks in this abbey, being religious men that they were, and also true loyal Scots, couldn't see that happening. So it's said that at great risk to themselves, that they recovered the body part and brought it back here for burial. At least that's the legend. But I think that's something I'll cover in another video. This one's more about the abbey. Stunning. Now that's the River Forth down there. We'll go down there and have a wee look. That is where they reckoned they had a pier and a dock for their ships for bringing stuff in, and also sending out trade goods as well. And there's some other buildings down there. I got a wee bit of drone footage on that, so you can get a better perspective of the layout of the land. But it's just through this wee gate. The tide's in. When the tide's out, as I say, there's next to no water in that, so it's pretty much high tide now. You see some of the masonry here, and if you remember the illustration at the door or the gateway, there was some buildings here in this area that run along there, and vegetable patches, etc., herb gardens, that sort of thing would have probably been in this sort of area, and then there was another building off to the side, and they reckon the sort of pier area was, and the dock was down there. But sadly, as I say, this all suffered the same fate in the 1500s as the rest of it. But you wonder how much of that building there and those walls are built from the stonework of the abbey. They can't get in and round about this because it's classed as dangerous. Let's see if we can work out what it's been. It looks as if there's been a roof level one there, which is rear that stairway. I think I know what this has been. See that section there? You can see there's like lines of stonework going along there. Maybe about a foot apart. I reckon it's been a ducat, and they've been the boxes that the pigeons, or the doos as we call them in Scotland, have been. I think that's possibly what that's been. There's other square built ducats in this area. I can see it better there. Definitely. That portion there, I would say, it's been a ducat. That's why it's sat off to the side of the rest of the buildings. Now, it would have been a source of meat and also a source of eggs. I'm pretty sure the sport of racing pigeons wasn't really invented back then. But aye, so there'd have been a dock down there which should have been accessible round about the sort of state of tide that's it's in just now. And that's you're flowing downstream into the Firth of Forth, and upstream here you're going up into Stirling, and in the past ships could go right up into Stirling itself. So we'll just head back up. Hope this is coming across alright and it's not too windy. But yeah, the Abbey Craigs there. There's a wee monument on top of the mountain up there as well. Demaya, I believe that one's called. In a future video I'm going up there and we'll have a better look at the Wallace monument. We'll not do it today, it's a wee bit windy, but we'll head back up here. Now, as I say, there's a nice notice board here with an artist's impression of how the building would have looked back in the day, back in the 1400s. Now behind me here is the Great West Archway, and that would have been coming through here and entering into the main body of the abbey here. And that, if you remember the artist's impression that was at the gateway, that was the sort of open air area, the cloisters, and they'd have been surrounded by covered walkways. Now, I'll have a wee look round. As I say, there's wee notices round about all of these telling you what they were. But I'll have a wee closer look. This is awesome here. The processional doorway. It's a southwest one, but you you think this, what this building would have been like back in its day. Now over there, it looks like medieval grave markers or grave coverings. We'll have a wee look at them as well. But back on this board here, you'll see there's the king's grave down there, his tomb, and that would have been it there, with the main sort of altar behind him. Now this, an iron casket with a slot for coins discovered in the abbey. That was the abbey seal there as well, showing the Virgin Mary enshrined. The abbey was dedicated to the Virgin Mary and was initially known as the Abbey of St Mary of Stirling, or simply Stirling Abbey. It's an Augustinian monastery, but it started its life as a daughter house, or in other words a dependency of the French Arouez order. It's the only one of its kind in Scotland, although the order ran other churches and abbeys on the lands of King David I in England. In the year 1147, Pope Eugene III declared that this abbey was actually under his protection through papal bull. Papal bull being a papal charter or letters. This was also confirmed in 1164 by Pope Alexander III, and later on in 1195 by Pope Celestine III. And just a short time later, in the year 1207 AD, the abbey was to be known as Cambuskenneth Abbey from that time on, and this was confirmed through papal bulls of that time. So this is the nave, the western limb of the Abbey Church. See these supports here, the south wall of the nave, divided into bays by triplets of wall shafts, of which the bases remain. So that's your three there. Pulpitum, the stone screen separating the canon's choir from the rest of the nave. There were altars in front of it. Sadly, that's all gone. The north aisle of the nave, a procession space perhaps containing extra altars. It was probably a later addition to the church. I don't know what this is, the base of the column. Some other bits of structure here. South transept, the cross arm with chapels on its east side. So that's the west gate, so that's the east side, so this must have been the chapels here. There's other walls here which they've just got the lines off. Sacristy, the room where the vessels and vestments used in services were stored. Now this is a chapter house, the main meeting room where business was discussed, and since confessed. It took its name from the daily reading of a chapter of the monastic rule. You get a doorway coming in from this side, a doorway here getting into the cloisters. This would have been a covered area, an open space there. But you just wonder what was discussed in that section there. You can only imagine. I would assume that it would have been one of the rooms that King Robert was in when they were discussing key business. So probably in this very area I'm standing just now is where King Robert once stood, and you can only imagine the discussions that this place has seen. But we'll head back out. This area here. This is the site of the lavatory. The canons washed their hands here before entering the refectory. So this bit here right in front is a lavatory. There's been a drain here as well, a gutter carved in the stone. So when you step over here into the refectory, the main eating hall, so this is where the wined and dined. Now I'd say this wall's obviously younger, and it's probably built with a lot of the stone from the actual abbey itself, because you can see here stairways going up and going to nothing. Just the other side of that wall is orchard, which they're restoring with some of the old original trees that would have been planted there in the day, pear trees and apple trees. But so folks, that's Cambuskenneth Abbey. You'll notice I'm saying Cambuskenneth and not Cambuskenneth. Camus being the original pronunciation. The bus, Cambus, being a later misinterpretation, which is kind of stuck. So every time you see Cambus in a name, replace it in your mind with the word Camus. C-A-M-Y-S, Camus. You'll see it in old medieval script that is of the day, and you'll see that that's how they actually pronounce the name of this place, or spelt it anyway. But just before we go, one last look at the great bell tower. Now, I'll try and get back sometime in the future when this opens back up again. I'm pretty sure is when they open the gate, they just open that. I don't know if you need to go in by appointment. I'll need to look into that, but it's certainly something I'd like to go in and have a wee look. So when I do come back and go inside, I'll bring the camera and that, and I'll do a wee video and I'll let you see. So it's certainly something I want to see, so if it's something you want to see, just keep in touch with what I'm posting. And if you're not already subscribed, click the subscription button. It's free to do so, and it'll keep you up to date on what I'm doing. There's also a wee bell icon you can click as well, like that keeps you better informed. And as usual, hit the like button, add a comment, ask questions, share your knowledge. That's what it's all about. But until next time, I hope you've enjoyed that, and you folks take care. Slange.